Hello. Hello, VOD viewers. It's going to be a low energy stream. Recently I did some Super Metroid streams where I focused on the game, called them Impromptu Vivisections. Pretty weird name, I don't know if I'll stick with that, but this is just low energy, one of them low energy gameplay streams, you know, it's not like that. It's going to be a lot more relaxed and it might be a bit short, but you'll be able to tell if you're a VOD viewer, won't you? Don't know if I had anything else to say. Yeah, it was a positive reception to the Super Metroid Vivisection thing. Oh, and this is also a little bit of a surreptitious test because I've made some improvements, so hopefully you'll find that there's improved audio quality and stuff. I made a few improvements to get rid of some noise on the microphone and oh, and I don't know how many people picked up on this, but the audio and the video on my streams has been desynced for a very long time, and that should probably be fixed now. So you could sometimes hear me reacting to things slightly before they happened, and I've sorted that out. I've put a little bit of a delay on the microphone, so it should line up for you. Yeah. I was thinking before I forget, I didn't fact check this, but yeah, I don't know if it matters. Want me to let the cutscenes play out? I suppose since this is my first time streaming. Boost the audio for you if you have a listen.
You thought we'd just let you leave? Hand over the girl.
Damn it! How did they find us? Controls are out! You're going down!
When's the last time I played? Not so long ago.
Isa.
Maybe 2 weeks ago now? I'm not sure.
Kachi, you okay?
I've never finished hard mode.
What's our status?
Yeah, I have the game boosted a little so you can enjoy the cutscenes.
The ship's totaled. It won't be long until the reactor explodes.
The story
And the
to this
security
game
locks
is
are
absolutely
online.
crazy.
We've
Absolutely
got company.
crazy. The lore is absolutely insane.
Okay, here's the plan. We need to get out of here now. If we take out those intruders,
lower the game back
the
down.
security doors will unlock.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, so this is not a vivisection. I'm not going to try and dissect the game. I'm just playing it because I wanted to play it, you know. Yeah, I've had some people say before that I was thinking about the super chats that came in lately. Oh yeah, I wanted to thank people who gave super chats and stuff during the Super Metroid vivisection. I need to, actually, this is another thing I wanted to just briefly test. While I'm streaming, I want to briefly test, can I pin things? I can, okay. You have to unpin and retract it separately. Crazy. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Because it would be good if I was doing another vivisection. Maybe you can remind me in the chat. I did have the chat open. I didn't read everything, and I was trying not to focus on it. But maybe you can remind me. It would be good to pin that. If I do the vivisection thing again, it would be good to pin a message kind of warning people that I'm not doing super chat shoutouts or anything like that. I was trying to make it as rewatchable as I could in real time, you know? And you know me, I don't like doing the whole subscribe thing even on the main channel videos and all that, so... I was like trying to make a video in real time almost, you know? And it would be good to warn people about that. I felt a little bad that there wasn't a warning there on the chat. As long as there's a warning there, I'll feel fine about it in future, you know? But another thing I was thinking was, some of the super chats have been very generous and stuff, and I was thinking probably some of it is just people who are pent up because they don't have a Patreon. And I get it, man. I hate making accounts for things. If you don't want one, that's no bother to me. I totally understand. But I thought it'd be worth putting out there. I never really thought of explaining this before. But it's probably worthwhile knowledge to try and get out there. I might add it to the About page on the Patreon. Is I get a good cut from the Patreon stuff. You know, it's... I'm pretty sure it's not 70%, you know? Let me put it that way. I'm pretty sure it's a lot better than 70%. So if your concern is about... you know, you don't want like a large portion of your money to go to some company that you don't care about or something, then the Patreon is not bad for that. I don't want to give an exact figure because I'm not entirely sure. I probably should have checked before streaming here. But yeah, I think that's all the stuff I wanted to say. Playing on hard, by the way. Yeah, I think it was there at the start. I don't really know what's different. You take more damage, but I don't know if there's any... I didn't really notice any difference in the enemy waves. So it would have been pretty hard to script. Maybe some boss behaviors or something like that. For the vivisection, it struck me as a good process for a main channel video. Is this your normal process just streamed? If not, what do you think about using it like that? It wasn't my... it's not exactly what my process is like, I would say. No. Maybe it should be, though. I was kind of hoping that it might sharpen me up a little bit and help me think about things a bit differently, you know? So that's good. I don't know that I'm exactly that much focused on details and stuff when I'm working on videos, which might sound strange because maybe it's like part of what I'm known for when I release videos is digging into little details and things, but I don't know, I feel like it comes a little bit more naturally when I'm not streaming, you know. I don't even remember the vivisection stream all that well already, but I think there was some details and things in there that I probably wouldn't have noticed in that way, at least. So I was hoping that it would be good for me, and I think in some way it was. I feel like I want to get better at redirecting missiles without actually tapping the lock on like that.
I think that's the last of them. Let's get going. What the? This thing must be on the fritz.
feel like anytime I finish a boss with a multiplier, I'm doing okay. Certainly not the cleanest I've ever done that level. Follow-up question. Do you think doing a vivisection for a game that you might have wanted to do a main video on could make you feel less likely to finish a main video because of the stream? Yeah, I think that's a real danger of it, yeah. So I think one of the big things, one of the problems, oh, I didn't really mean to skip. I'm glad it was received very well, and you know, if you're happy, that's good. I think the big question is what other games make sense to do it for, you know? Super Metroid was a very obvious target, both because it's a very good game and also because I'm very familiar with it. And yeah. I don't want to do it instead of video. Well, like, I haven't been releasing videos anyway, you know? It just is going to be true if I would like to get back to making games, you know? And if I'm going to get back to making games, then I'm not going to be able to make videos like I used to, you know? But it still would be nice to... be a nice thing to do. And there are certainly videos I would like to make, you know, and that I hope I manage. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm a bit tired, I don't know. Like I said, it's going to be one of those streams. I'm thinking of getting one of those stream deck things. The part of what's happened with the streams lately is I never really applied myself to streaming at all, because it's just not something I put that much energy into, and I don't want to be a streamer, you know, for the most part. But if people enjoy it and if I can make it good, then, you know, it's a way to get more stuff out there and hopefully earn some money while doing it. And so it would be nice to put a bit more effort in and stuff. So they have this, you've probably seen those little button pad things. They have those little button pad things that you can map stuff onto, but they have a version now with little dials on it, which is what I'm interested in, because it would be nice to be able to lower and raise the game volume. That's one thing that kind of sucks about my current setup, you know. And there's a load of different things that you get. It's a matter of, you know, what actually makes sense to get. I don't know. Thank you, Alf. Appreciate it. Sin Punishment 2 is very good, yeah. Have you played Fallout New Vegas? What do you think? I've never really gotten into those. I suppose I shouldn't call it a Bethesda game. I did actually finish Fallout 3 back in the day on console, I think, you know. I probably just didn't have a good computer at the time. But on PS3, which is probably the worst version of the game, you know. I have played a little bit of New Vegas, but I never really get into them. It's the same way with Skyrim and all that kind of stuff. But I know a lot of people love it. Well, I finished Fallout 1 and 3. but not 2 or New Vegas. I played a little bit of Fallout 2 as well. I don't know, maybe I should go back to it on the Steam Deck or something. I know a lot of people love it. I think it was directed by, or maybe it wasn't directed by him, I don't know, Josh Sawyer, right? I liked Pentiment. I don't know if he's been involved in anything else that I like, but I liked Pentiment, so that's another reason why I'd be interested in giving it a shot again. Well, I don't really have a strong opinion on it, otherwise. Yeah, it was Josh Sawyer directed that, yeah. Yeah, I liked Pentiment a lot. I don't know, I did have, I don't know if it's a spoiler to say, but I did have somewhat mixed feelings on the ending and stuff, but I'm not entirely convinced it stuck the landing for me. But it was a very cool game. I didn't regret my time with it, you know, despite some misgivings about that, but as far as I can tell, the best thing to do with those missile turrets is to kill the guy standing on them, but leave the missile turret alive. I failed to kill the guy. I'll do it on this one here. You want to shoot it enough to kill the guy. Why is he still alive? What's going on? Because you don't want them shooting at you, but you want to be able to use the missiles. Yeah, someone, I forget where it was, whether it was on the Patreon or just in the chat here. I think it was on the Patreon. Somebody was talking about Morrowind and kind of convinced me that that's something that I should care about as well, even though I couldn't get into Oblivion and Skyrim. I think as well, part of what went wrong with me with New Vegas, why I didn't stick with it, was it was actually, this will show you that I am actually interested in it. It was one of the earliest games I booted up on my Steam Deck, but I kind of, this is one of the dangers of PC gaming, is I spent a while trying to tweak the controls and stuff, using the trackpad and all that. And I think I probably just would have been better off just using the normal console controls, you know, rather than just having this complicated layout in my head. I'm not entirely sure. This is one thing that I kind of I'm not sure how I feel about this in this game. I think they kind of missed an opportunity there with the backpack that he has, because I thought when I first started playing it, now this was a couple of years back or something, but I thought that the little hover thing that he has conveys your hurt box, you know? But that's the part that really matters. But I actually think it's most of his torso that matters rather than just that part. Because there's some 2D parts where it feels like if it misses there, it can still hit you. But also, then it doesn't apply to Kachi anyway. Kachi is playable, and her little hoverboard doesn't make sense for that, you know? I feel like they kind of missed a trick there because, I don't know, that kind of clarity is important to me at least anyway. It's, you know, to be fair to the game, most of the scenarios don't actually require you to weave through bullets, but there is some parts later on where it gets a little bit hairy. Like that. I suppose I shouldn't be criticizing this game too much. It's already underrated and not very well known, but it's really good. It's really good. I still don't know which one I prefer though, this one or the original. My mind's still not made up about that. I think I messed that up somehow because he shouldn't really have 25 HP anyway, it doesn't matter. This next boss fight is cool. PC gaming, half the time it's actually playing, the other half it's tinkering. Not for me, it's not. I really am not much of a tinkerer. You know, I think it is a bad thing about PC gaming that some people do get stuck into, but for me, I rarely tinker. I tinker as little as I can get away with. But it is something I fall into sometimes, alright. I will admit. I'm surprised so many of you seem to know this game. I mean, not that you know it, but so many of you have actually played it. I didn't mean to do that. Did I miss my chance? Come on, come on. Ah, there we go. Alright, if I can get one more complaint though about the game. I would like if you get these medals for doing special things in the levels, and I can live with them being hidden and all that. But I would like if once you discover the medal it tells you what it's for. Maybe I've just missed that somewhere, but it would be nice if there was a menu where you could just look up what all the medals were for. So you can keep track of which ones you found and all that. So that if you want to string them together into some kind of ultimate run, you know. This is a really cool part. The visuals kind of make it a little harder to digest than maybe it should be, but the way the little one kind of forces you to swing across to the other side of the screen instead of being able to just go in a big circle, you know? I think that means I've missed my chance to kill this guy before I left it. Oh no, that's okay. Alright, I lost a lot of health, but it's pretty fast if you can get him before he jumps back up, and then you have to go through that big spiral shot attack again. It's not hard to avoid or anything, but it's kind of a waste of time when he's low on health. It took me a while to realize, this is maybe stupid of me, but it's one of those games where there's a lot going on, so it took me a while to realize that if there's a section in the game where you can stand on the ground. You gain points just by standing on the ground, which is one thing I like about it. And I think as well,
Check it out.
this is something I do have slightly mixed feelings about, but it's a good thing. This aspect of it is good at least. There's a jump button, but in this game, the jump button makes less sense than in the first game because you can fly around the screen freely. There's at least one section I can think of that kind of plays with it a little bit, where you can't fly around as freely as you could. I hope there's no enemies in this tunnel now. But
Turns out we were shot down over
I think when you press the jump button, you still score points as though you're on the ground. So that's a reason to use it rather than flying into the air. You know, I'm not going to get into score or attack in this game, but
According to the database, a few ships
you can tell they were thinking about it, you know.
If we can get to one of those ships, we'll be home free.
And you're sure there are no enemies down here?
The stream itself is lagging, maybe? Okay, yeah. I changed some settings, so... Okay, I can see that on my end, yeah. I don't know if I can fix that right now without stopping the stream. So we'll just have to endure it for now. Like I said, this is kind of a surreptitious test stream. Normally I'm streaming at 720p, and I thought I'd try streaming at 1080 and see. CPU is at like 95% or something. That's pretty mad. I think the noise removal on the microphone takes up a surprising amount. I don't know. Maybe I'll drop that thing back down to 720p. I'm not sure. Did I change anything else? I'm not recording. Yeah. I thought the reason I changed it was I thought there might actually be less overhead. My internet connection can handle it, you know, so I just thought if it's not downscaling to 720p, then maybe it's just, like, that just seems like it should be an extra step, right? Because it's pulling in 1080p footage from the... Stuttering quite often. Okay, that's unfortunate. Distracted now. I don't know if I want to restart the stream for it. I don't know. I think maybe if I do it quick enough, it'll resume the stream without... Does anyone know? Can you change these settings while you're still going and see what happens? Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. How much the CPU usage dropped just by being on the pause menu. Right, let me try and change the setting while it's still going. No, it won't let me. All right, I'll try and do it quick and see if it can resume the stream. You'll have to bear with me a second, okay? Did we resume? Didn't create a new thing or anything, did he? It looks like it's still going as the same one as before. Oh yeah, DLSS 5. We haven't talked about that yet. Oh man. Is it too cheeky to say I was waiting for the consensus to come in before talking about it? Because that's what you're supposed to do, apparently. Yeah, man, I couldn't believe I haven't actually I haven't played Resident Evil. What's it, 9 now? Requiem. I haven't played Requiem. But man, I couldn't believe that they led with that picture of Grace. with the, it looked like lip filler and all the extra makeup and all that. It's just a bit crazy. It's I haven't played the game, but it seems like it's not what they were going for with her character. So yeah, I don't know. Clearly, someone at Capcom signed off on that, but I don't know. It's one of those things. You work at one of those companies. What are you gonna do? You know. But then again, well, it seems like it's a little bit different in Japan. It seems like there is a little bit more job security in AAA game development in Japan. Certainly if you work at somewhere like Nintendo, you know. But I can't say I've heard about mass layoffs at Capcom or anything like that either, you know. Well, that's another thing I think about, though, is companies do all these things that the people working there don't really seem to like or whatever. And I just think it used to be true that you had more job security as a AAA developer than you do as an indie developer, but I don't know if that's true anymore, you know? In recent years, is that really true? So that being the case, if you are a AAA developer and your boss is saying, you know, we're going to push DLSS 5 on you and that's that, is it maybe just worth putting your foot down and saying, no, actually, I don't sign off on this. If you do it, I'm out, you know? Because based on trends of the last few years, you know, you're 6 months away from losing your job anyway, you know? It's a glib thing to say, I suppose, but it's just like, do you actually have jobs? I didn't even know you could kill that thing. I thought that was scripted, that had to hit the wall there. That's crazy. I tried to kill that a few times and I never managed. I don't know what went right there. But I'm just thinking, you know, I just have a hard time picturing whoever it was that designed Grace and signed off on her going, yeah, this is fine by me. No. Oh, that went pretty well. Oh yeah, I don't know. I haven't been reading the chat there. Sorry. It's one of them shmup streams where I'm not really paying attention. Yeah, it's not what I want. It's not what I want for the future of game visuals, you know. I suppose I should pause for a second and talk about this normally. I think I share a lot of the concerns that a lot of people have. So maybe there's no need going over all those. Instead, what I think I should say is this is not something I've seen anybody express, but underpinning all of the problems that I have with it, just the cherry on top maybe is just this slightly nagging feeling that this just doesn't have to be the way things go in order for technological graphical improvements to continue happening. Right? I think I've said it before. We talked about it not so long ago, whether it was in the Q&A or here, I'm not sure, on stream, whatever. But, you know, there is a certain reality that seems to be hitting where we're approaching the limits of how small you can make a transistor because electrons start tunneling through the gates and there's a problem there. It's not viable anymore below like 1 nanometer, and we're already at something like 3 nanometer on the cutting edge or something like that. but I'm not convinced. Somehow I'm just not convinced. Maybe it's because of the time when I grew up where there was such rapid advancement all the time, and so there might be a bias here that leads me to believe that there's still more to come, you know? Um, but I just somehow feel like there must be a different route for graphics cards to go down such that this is not how graphics continue to improve for the time being, you know? Um, I just feel like the only reason you do something like the LSS5 is because you've completely run out of other avenues to improve. And I think Mark Cerny was basically saying something like that. He was saying that, you know, rasterization performance is not going to get any better. And so this is the way it's going to have to go. And he's a very smart man, and he knows he's a hardware guy, or at least he became a hardware guy. I don't know, whatever. But I just have this feeling underneath it all that surely there's more to go. Like surely this we haven't run out of road just yet, you know? This can't be the only available avenue. What I'm saying is Nvidia is in the driving seat for graphics. That's something that they kind of like to boast about from time to time. And maybe there's just different ways that a graphics card can be put together such that actually you can get a lot more out of it than we're getting out of it, you know? I was thinking about stuff like, um, you know, what I was saying recently about horizontal interrupts and stuff like that. There's things that old hardware does which can kind of look impressive. It can look like it takes a lot more effort than it really does just because of the way the hardware is set up. And so you have to wonder how many different possible hardware configurations are there that are actually better suited to certain types of game or something. You know, maybe the real end game is that you actually have dedicated 2D hardware that's actually really good in some way at doing 2D games or something like that, you know? Maybe I'm talking nonsense, but um, it's not the avenue I want to go down anyway. Yeah. Get what I'm saying? And yeah, I agree. Somebody in the chat was saying something about temporal stability, and I agree with that. It's kind of thing, I don't know, you go back and you play older games, and this one is not actually a great example because I think they went overboard with the bloom in this one. And so it's a little bit harder to see things than it should be sometimes. But I don't know, there's just a clarity that's there, and you just think, why do modern games not look clear like this? How is this progress, you know? I don't know. I haven't really been talking about this game itself much. I love how crazy this is, and treasure games in general, but the story and stuff in it is one of the craziest things. If you haven't seen this yet, just wait until you see the next boss. The Armin Ritter boss, it's just crazy on every level. Be curious to see. I might have to go back and read the chat for this, but I don't know if I have any. Oh, there we go. Curse myself. I have any kindred spirits here in the chat, right? Because I felt, maybe I said this before, but I feel like there hasn't been treasure games for a while now, you know, unfortunately. I feel like somehow Bayonetta 3 is the closest we've come to a spiritual successor to treasure, you know? Just because it was absolutely crazy. Oh, of course, there's this kind of mechanical depth to it and stuff and all that as well, right? But just, it was absurd, and every moment, you never knew what was going to happen next in it, you know? And it just, especially without the context of Bayonetta Origins or all that stuff, like, the story was just crazy as well. I don't know, I feel like Bayonetta 3 is the closest we've come to recapturing that treasure energy. I think part of it as well is maybe there's a budget thing as well, you know. The treasure, they made niche games, but they were still making stuff that was cutting edge in a lot of ways. Maybe, yeah, well, cutting edge is fair. Star Successor is not their most cutting edge game, really. It's got a lot of different modes and stuff in it. I don't want to undersell it, but you know, their most technically impressive stuff was probably on the Mega Drive. But yeah, there's something about, for it to be a treasure game, it's got to kind of be at that level, you know? Well, I don't know. Maybe not. This ain't a vivisection, lads. Not getting me at my best. How's the choppiness? Is it gone now? I assume it is. Yeah, CPU looks fine. To be honest, I'm kind of glad that that caused problems, because it justifies the fact that I had it set to that for years, you know. Maybe depending on the game it would be alright, but I'm not going to figure that out on a game by game basis. I haven't been using the charge attack as much as I should. Can't believe, what's it been? 45 minutes already or something? Who's saying hungry ghosts? Hungry? Why are you saying hungry ghosts? I tried to play that, you know. It was a couple of years ago now, but the language in it is too complicated for me. One of these days. One of these days. Seems like when I was playing this before, I was testing it out a little bit. It seems like there's not really much benefit to trying to target down one side. You can take one side off before the other, but you have to do something like 75% of all damage on one side, so it doesn't really seem like it's worth it. This is where the visibility is really bad. This is just a bit... Come on now. Somebody on this development team really liked Bloom. This level is rough for a second level. Just the amount of mini bosses and stuff in it. And then the boss at the end is, I don't know. It's not, yeah, it's not that rough actually. Most of the regular encounters are fine in this one, but a couple of those mini bosses are a bit tough. We have to defeat the Nebulox. My favorite shmup is R-Type Delta. I don't know what my shmup level is though. Council of Shmuppers is not answering my calls. I do really like these Sin and Punishment games. Like I said, I still haven't decided which one I actually prefer. There's... yeah. Sometimes yeah, I'll just talk about it. Sometimes you have ideas and then you find out your idea is out there in the wild somewhere, you know. I was thinking about, I didn't have any serious plans for it, but I thought, you know, if I was to make a rail shooter myself, this was years ago, I started thinking about this. If I was going to make a rail shooter, what would it be like? And maybe Sin and Punishment was already in my head somewhere, you know, but I hadn't played it. And I've played, you know, Space Harrier, and I've played all of Kamiya's games, right? So that's like 3 rail shooters in its own right. And I also played Kid Icarus Uprising, and one of the things that struck me when I played Kid Icarus Uprising was that this was for the first time. It was a long time ago, so forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure... I don't remember this attack. Maybe this is new on hard mode? What the fuck? Am I really supposed to dodge through that? Okay, one of the things... It's taking me ages. One of the things that struck me about Kid Icarus Uprising is you turn it on, you start playing, and then it was not necessarily a bad move, whether it was Sakurai came up with it or whatever. It wasn't really a bad move on his behalf, but one thing that happens is the game just says, you know, a basic strategy for you to do is to just move in a circle, right? And this is a thing you can do in a lot of rail shooters, and it makes them a lot easier because the enemies are typically tracking where you are, and if you just keep moving, they're going to miss, right? So I thought, when I saw that in Kid Icarus, I thought, this is a way of sort of closing the gap, right, between people who are accustomed to this genre and people who aren't. It kind of helps people who aren't catch up, and then it maybe allows the game to be a little bit more involved than it would otherwise, right? Knowing that every player is just going to default to moving this way or whatever. And I thought, isn't this a flaw with these games that you just move in a circle? That moving in a circle is just a recommended thing. Isn't this a flaw? I thought surely the idea is to make a game where that's not what you do, right? That's not the goal, and it's not what you do. And then I thought, well, somebody should make a rail shooter where you're just locked to the floor, right? And maybe you can jump or whatever, but you're locked to the floor. And then not long afterwards, I played Sin and Punishment for the first time. Um, so I forget how I got onto this point, but I feel like maybe the first Sin and Punishment was addressing that problem, you know? And this one doesn't address it in the same way. Like, it actually does a lot.
So I was wrong.
It has a lot of interesting scenarios in it,
They know we'd use it.
but I have a lot of admiration for that first game, you know?
You know,
That makes sense?
Nebulox are behind this.
Oh yeah, you can actually see me. Moving my hands around is not a total waste of time this time. You can see the cursor. Eternal would be an amazing vivisection. Yeah, I might be able to pull that one off, because I haven't played it in a good while, but I was at the point where I could consistently beat it. So,
That was some stunt you pulled back there. But resistance will only delay the inevitable. I see you've made your choice. Unfortunately,
which of these two is Sin? The boy is Sin and the girl is Punishment.
empty-handed. Come now. Allow me to show you the true meaning of pain.
I can't remember how I got on to telling you that story, but yeah, I don't actually see myself making a rail shooter, you know? I'm just expressing why I have admiration for that first game, because it feels like it solved the problem, you know? Yeah, this guy just turns into a big manta ray for some reason. He's one of the Nebulox. Story is mad. Maybe I'll out myself as somebody who doesn't understand the lore, but my best understanding of it is that there's all these different if you want, I think this is explained in the manual, right? So I don't think this is a spoiler, but you know, maybe spoilers here. But basically there's all these different Earths. We're on Earth 4 right now. I think Issa comes from Earth 5, but we're on Earth 4, and the Earth, I think, is made by the Nebulox. It's made by, there's two factions, inner space and outer space. I'm not making this shit up, by the way. Inner space and outer space, and I think the Nebulox is inner space, and they make Earths, and Earth is like a weapon or something. And if Earthlings seek peace, if world peace comes about, then the Nebulox just destroy the planet because it's no use to them anymore. So it's pretty grim. So this planet we were on is Earth, and this was an Earth that decided to be peaceful, and thus was no use to them anymore. And so they wiped it out, and then that's what the what are they called? Keepers are, I think. That's what they are. I forget what they're called, because in the first game they're called Seamers or something like that. The first game has a crazy plot of its own as well. It's like genetically engineered food goes crazy or something. Then Issa found this girl who has no memories, and she doesn't seem to be human, and they want to kill her, and he doesn't want to kill her. It's crazy, but it's arguably only half as crazy as Alien Soldier. I don't know which is worse, and there's probably some treasure game that's worse. The text at the start of Ikaruga is amazing. I love the text, the little poem sort of things. See if I'm a true gamer if I can recite it, right? I will not die until I achieve something. No matter... Fuck. No, I've lost it. Will not die until I achieve something. Even though the ideal is high, I never give in. Therefore, I never die with regrets. Which I imagine was the developer's way of saying good luck with the score attack on this one. you know. But kind of inspiring, I think. How did I mess that up so many times in a row? You know, considering I'm playing on hard and I'm streaming, I'm not doing too bad, actually. I'm pretty happy with how I'm doing. Could be a lot smoother. I don't know why it's a lizard. A few people have commented on it. I don't know why it's a lizard. Does anybody know? What's the story with that? Also, it kind of bothers me that his hand is where the pointer is and not his head. I always like instinctively think it's his head. Why is it a lizard? Is there a reason? Yeah, a lot of the story is in the manual, yeah.
I'm just getting warmed up.
No, I haven't messed with remapping the controls. It's still on fire. I did take a look at that. I am thinking about it. I was thinking of remapping the jump button, because it seems like it's really only useful in a couple of scenarios in the game. Like I said, if you want to go for score, then maybe you want to be jumping a lot more often than I do, but there's the jumping ahead, spoilers, but there's the cart section. Oh, there's actually, isn't there some boss fight where you need to be able to jump? One of the 2D boss fights. Maybe it's against your man when you're chained to him. There's one of them where you need to be able to press the jump button on it. Yeah, because I think when the girl, you don't really need to jump there because you're still flying around. But also when you're on the rail cars knocking the things back, I think it was useful to jump there as well for whatever reason. Because you get blown back by the wind or something. I don't know. But yeah, maybe I will remap it. I feel like you could probably put something on the down button on the D-pad as well. I would like, it would be really nice to see a 3D version of this game at some point. Maybe it's already exists on PC or something. But you know what I mean? I've been saying, I gotta keep championing this idea out loud. I want the Nintendo everything console, you know? I really think that's what the Switch 2 should have been. I kind of thought, you know the way, I have pretty good predictions under my belt, right? I think that's fair to say about myself. Well, I'll give you one I got wrong, right? I thought in the run-up to the Switch 2 release, I thought it would be a very Nintendo thing to do. So I was thinking, Switch 2, really? They're just going to go Switch 2? And I still am slightly disappointed that that's what they've done. You know, it looks like a nice console and all. And I'm glad they put so much effort into making current Switch games run well. That's one of the things I like about the PS5 as well. You pop in a PS4 game and you're getting a really good experience. And so I think that that's great. But I was thinking about the Switch 2 right before they were going to reveal it. You know, the clock was running out. It was around that time when they said it would be before the financials or whatever, and the clock was running out, and I was thinking about it, and they showed a little picture of it first or something, didn't they? Yeah, this is when they first revealed it, but they didn't really show much, right? They showed the console. One of the things I was looking at was I noticed that the dock has a sort of, if you look at the front, for some reason there's kind of a line on the bottom of it where it looks like the front of the dock could be popped off. And I was thinking, okay, they've called it the Switch 2 because it's got two screens, because you put the thing in the dock and then you can pop that off and now you have a screen underneath your screen, just like in the Wii U days or whatever, you know? Why they didn't do that, I don't know. It just would have been such a Nintendo move. It would have been really fun to say, actually it's called, you thought it was called the Switch 2 because it's the second Switch. Actually, we called it the Switch 2 because it has 2 screens, you know? Because we're Nintendo, right? They love doing things like that. So I really thought that that's where they were going with that. And they didn't. So I called that one wrong. I think he always appears in the same place there, which is a little bit unfortunate. I think that's the real him on, yeah. Well, the last time I was playing, he was there as well. What I was saying, yeah, what I was saying was, it would be nice to see this game in 3D, especially in a proper re-release would be nice, you know. I do think a re-release would help this game even graphically because maybe I shouldn't be hoping for this because I'm a purist. I'm playing this on the fucking console, okay? So give me some credit. I'm a purist, but as much as I can be anyway. One of the things I'm thinking is, if they gave this a straight up resolution boost, the bloom would basically automatically be toned down. Probably, anyway. It would probably have the side effect of toning down the bloom. But that would be kind of nice.
Impressive. You're much more
But yeah, I'd love to see a version of this with 3D because it would make little things like that easier. The part where I was fighting him and I was those, you're in the kind of water tunnel and the balls are bouncing at you. I messed that up 3 times, but it would have been easier to land that with stereoscopic vision. You know, it's partly the depth perception problem that makes some of those things a bit difficult. So I think this game would be a really, really good fit for 3D if they were ever bringing 3D back. VR headset or something.
Let's head out.
Yeah, he's crazy. He is probably the craziest boss, to be fair. Most of the other bosses are less crazy than that. I'm sitting down. Yeah.
There's the fortress. Ready?
I don't think there's anything to be gained by standing up for this one. It's a pointer game. It's not a waggle game in any sense. This level's pretty hard, so this is where we're going to start seeing a lot of deaths, probably. This is where the true sin and punishment starts here. The true punishment starts here, anyway. It's a great game, though, isn't it? I mean, just the amount of ideas that they go through in it. It's pretty long, but it's still well paced. And there's a part late. I don't know if I'll get to it here because I'm playing on hard mode. I suppose I will. Well, you can get roadblocked. It's not like the Wonderful 101 where you're always starting off where you left off. But I'll probably get to it. But there's a part later in this where you're going through some tunnels and it kind of like bounces back and forth between these two ideas. It just does different iterations on them, like faster iterations on these two ideas back to back. I don't know. It's a very satisfying section of the game, I think. This is, I think they maybe made a 3DS game after this, but this is basically the last game Treasure made. It's one of their last games anyway. They went out with a fucking bang. I thought that thing would keep shooting missiles at me. I don't know why it's not. Figured that. Oh, maybe I did a bunch of damage to it. Maybe it was about to die. Maybe there's not much benefit to leaving them alive. Not doing a great job of it myself, but I think one piece of advice that's one thing that's probably easy to overlook is that a lot of the time you're better off not doing the full attack strain. And I like that about the game. There's actually a reason to not do it, because the recovery on the third slash is pretty bad for a game this fast. So a lot of the time it's you want to just do one. You know, it's like when you're reflecting a missile, obviously you just want to do one. But even killing when I was killing those guys, 2 hits does it, so you want to be careful not to trigger the third hit if you can avoid it. How'd they come up with this, you know, as well? Just great, absolutely crazy ideas. First one was also very good, yeah. Both these games are worth trying, definitely. I think I want to play more of the original as well. And I'll get back to that soon. But I feel like where the original starts to lose me a little bit is in the air. It's an aircraft carrier, I think. The aircraft carrier section where you start floating around a lot. The camera kind of doesn't do it favors there. But everything up until that is pretty much gold. You know, and there's a lot of good sections after that as well. At least from what I remember. I've definitely played the first half of the game more than the second half. Although, as actually, the first game is actually pretty easy to 1 credit clear from what I remember, because you earn new credits pretty quickly. At least on normal. I'm not even sure. There must be a hard mode in it. Maybe I played on hard. Maybe you don't have to unlock hard. I don't know. Anyway, I gotta play more of that one as well. I don't know what to do with myself, man. Not sure how to say your name, but thank you for the super chat there. Appreciate it. I think that's the best stage in the game, the aircraft carrier. Well, I like other sections in it. If you're thinking, I think you start off inside it, right? The bit where you're running along behind the thing and you have to jump over the pits while trying to hit it and stuff is really, really good. There's at least 1 or 2 good boss fights in there as well that are fun. Having a hard time picturing, but there's a guy with a cat or something and you have to... I think you can kill his cat. I'm not sure. You have to attack his cat? I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot I like about it. Just that one section where you're flying around, I don't know. I don't know about that bit, but maybe I just need to get comfortable with it, you know? This part's pretty tough to avoid damage. There is one thing about this game that I'm kind of undecided about is in these 2D sections here, they... Yeah, maybe it's okay. Because this is the kind of thing that I haven't really examined yet that could sway my opinion on the game a little bit one way or the other. It's just in these 2D sections they have a background layer and it's just a little hard to tell it's not immediately intuitive what exactly is going to happen when you move your cursor to different places. Like, when are you shooting on the background layer and when are you shooting on the foreground layer, you know what I mean? It seems like, just looking at it now, it does seem like they have a pretty good solution where your shots only go to the background layer if they're actually aimed at a target. But even then, you can kind of imagine, you can imagine a scenario where, you know, it's, dare I say it again, trot out the line, the fucking catchphrase, context sensitivity, right? Because there's, now your cursor has become context sensitive in a way. So you can see why I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it. But to the extent that it's actually used in the game, I don't know that it's a problem. I don't know, I'm not going to figure it out tonight. It's the closest we're getting to the vivisection tonight. Yeah, you can see there when it's not over the targets, it looks like it's... Let's try and get a little bit further in the stage, yeah? Let's get to our checkpoint. These things just take so many hits unless you do a charge shot on them. Okay, I'm glad that hit both of them. Probably gonna fuck this up, but this is pretty cool. Yeah, fucked it up. Okay. What happens now? Do I have to hit them with a charge attack or what? Oh, no way. Do you have to do this? I didn't know that. Couldn't you just farm score here? What's the solution? Treasure surely has a solution for this. There's no way you're able to farm infinite score there. Alright, we're not going to figure that out right now, but there's no way in a treasure game. I don't see it. Something must happen there if you delay long enough. But that's probably still the ideal scoring measure there, unless I'm missing something. Took a lot of damage there. Yeah. I don't mind restarting that. Get treasure on the phone. Listen, Gabe. Listen here, Gabe. Don't come to the context sensitive chat and then complain about context sensitivity. I'm actually hoping to have some new catchphrases. I'm hoping to have some new catchphrases eventually, you know? What else might I complain about? I actually have yeah, I should say, well, it doesn't come up that much actually, because there's not actually a huge number of games that fall into this category in my mind, at least. Or I don't know, it just doesn't come up all that much on stream maybe. But the fuzzy fairness thing that I brought up in that post one time, I went looking for that and it's actually on a devlog kind of thing, so it's really buried, so probably some of you don't even know about it in the chat. But you know, that can be another catchphrase of mine, the fuzzy fairness thing, because I've been playing a lot of Magul games lately. You know, I think I prefer the name Ghouls and Ghosts rather than Ghosts and Goblins. I don't know. Ghosts and Goblins. Ghouls and Ghosts. I don't know what I would call it, but it's a little bit unfortunate that those games are named the way they are, because I can't help but feel like it's partly why they're underrated, you know? Especially the apostrophe N. If they were ghosts and goblins, you feel like it just sounds more respectable, you know? That shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Not really, anyway. Fucking... Man, fucking Ghouls and Ghosts. Ghouls and Ghosts is so fucking good, man. It is so fucking good. It's unreal. It's fucking unreal, man. 1988. Fucking crazy. But it's called Ghouls and Ghosts, and so people don't want to talk about it with any kind of reverence. There's all these kinds of ways that I'm convinced language fucks us up in just very simple everyday ways that are just really dumb, you know? But I think that's one of them. People don't want to revere a game that's called Ghosts in Goblins, right? Ghosts in Goblins. Or Ghouls and Ghosts, right? Whereas Castlevania, for example, Pagodemonium, for example, you know? Now there's a name you can respect. Ghosts to Glory is a better name. Yeah, well, it's a more respectable name is what I mean. Yeah, Maximo Ghosts to Glory. That's pretty tasteful, you must admit. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know what it means. But, you know, then again, I don't know what most things mean. Like, I don't know what Lies of P means. I don't know what Crimson Desert means. I don't know what Stellar Blade means. I think Bayonetta is named after the concept of a bayonet, right? That's what I think. But that's never been explained. Sentimen, yeah, Sentimen. There were so many great bands that weren't successful due to their name. Yeah, I suppose people do say that about bands sometimes, don't they? And sometimes you find out that bands have these old names that they were using. I mean, I'm not big on music, but when Radiohead started out, they were called On a Friday, I think. Not a great name. You can see why they changed it. But man, Ghouls and Ghosts is so fucking good, man. It's... yeah. And anyway, yeah. So maybe some of you in the chat don't even know that, but I have this little thing about fuzzy fairness, which is like just when a game is... when you can't decide whether or not a game is fair. And this kind of thing, I've actually... I've been trying to turn it into one of those theory videos, but it's a little bit hard. You would think because I have a post there to work from that it would be easy, but I don't know. I'm not entirely happy with it. Try to raise the standards for those videos, you know, and approach them a little bit more thoroughly or something. But if I ever get that one out, that can be another catchphrase there, and I can talk about fuzzy fairness all the time. I don't want to be the context sensitivity guy. But I do, you know, looking back on it, I am glad that context sensitivity was one of those, the first ones. There's maybe a mixed feeling on it slightly in the sense that it is such an enormous problem that maybe it would have been better to do that one a little bit later, when I'm kind of more practiced at those theory videos. But it still feels to me like one of the most important fucking things I've ever really noticed about games, you know? So I'm glad that one got out. Yeah, I have a little something about camera. There's a lot of stuff that I'd like to do. I have... Is it just the one about camera? I have just one about camera systems. It's pretty short. That's the thing as well, is I probably need to embrace them being a different length. I think context sensitivity is going to remain the longest one for quite a while. Maybe forever, I don't know. I hit a checkpoint here at least. I might just start the game over. It's probably more entertaining than watching me struggle with a couple of checkpoints. I'm not. A little bit zoned out. Would you consider a theory video on quality of life? I hadn't, but maybe I should, yeah. I was hoping to get more ideas for more from the Q&A that I did, but I don't think any really came to light there. You never really know where they're going to pop up. I would not have thought that the context sensitivity thing would come about from that Symphony of the Night stream. But that really is where the idea started to germinate. And yeah. What do I say about them? First of all, I think we need a better term than quality of life. You know? It's not catchy and people don't want to say it. People wouldn't want to say it, but I think they're just convenience features, you know? And I think if you want to talk about them honestly, they're just convenience features. But I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, I know where I fall on the topic in terms of kind of how I would prefer developers and players approach this mentally, you know, which is that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and neither side should leap to conclusions and should try and listen and understand. You know, if a developer refuses to put something like that in their game, maybe you should think that this is just something that they don't want to back down on, and that's that, you know. For whatever reason, they feel it's important to the game. But equally also, if lots of players are complaining, you know, maybe that's something you need to think about, because maybe it's just ruining your game. You really have to be doing charge shots on this thing. It does tie into something that I've been thinking about. But I keep trying to, like, basically hide the fact that I've been writing a little bit, but I've been writing. But like I say, you never know what's going to happen. So I've been writing something on it. I would say the topic is definitely related, and maybe there should be something in there about convenience features. It would definitely be at home in something that I'm already writing, so maybe I should consider bringing it up there, even just briefly. I'll just think about this off the top of my head, right? Maybe I don't really agree with this in the end, but I'm just trying to spin something off the top of my head. Games, I mean, you can kind of take this from the Breath of the Wild video. Games kind of, they ask something of you, right? They ask you to go ahead and complete a challenge or do something, right? Cut down a tree to cross a ravine, to use that old example again. If you want to get across this ravine, you're going to have to jump and climb. You're going to have stamina, or you're going to have to cut the tree. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to... There's going to be a challenge of some kind, using your brain or your dexterity or whatever. So games are constantly challenging people to... By the way, it's really counterintuitive, but these gears don't actually hurt you, which is bizarre, but it makes this part considerably easier when you keep that in mind. I mean, they look like they're designed to look like they hurt you, but they actually don't. So players are... they're asked to engage in challenges, and they sign up to the game in order to engage in challenges. But of course, part of it is overcoming the challenge. Part of what you're doing is you're overcoming the challenge, right? And I think maybe part of what goes wrong when people ask for quality of life features, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, you know, players are kind of just asking for ways to skip the game or whatever. They're not creating the necessary separation between some kind of feeling that they have and their experience with the game. In other words, when you play a game, you sign up to be inconvenienced in some ways, right? But if you're not separating that in your mind, like if you're having this emotional reaction and you're just having difficulty separating the game world maybe from the real world, not in the sense that you mistake one for the other necessarily, but just that your emotional reaction crosses the boundary from one to the other. You know, you could definitely see that happening. I think it's probably less inclined to happen if you're a really experienced player who's played a lot of stuff, right? But you get into this emotional state, and then the emotional state belongs to the game because you were inconvenienced in the game, you're in a tense situation in the game, but then it crosses into the real world because it's your real emotions. And then as a result, you're still stuck in that moment. And so one of the things you do is you ask for more convenience or whatever, you know what I mean? I'll just take a break for a second. I'm not playing very well. This is the section I was talking about earlier. It kind of goes back and forth between two different ideas. I think there's a third section kind of in the middle, but it kind of bounces back and forth between that idea of getting to the safe quadrant on the dividing doors, and then this other one of the things going down the tunnel and shooting missiles at you. Bounces back and forth between them, which is cool. Hello there. Hello to everybody who said hello. Hello, everybody. Yeah, Rykos, would you consider turning unused Monday mitosis scripts into blog posts? That's from back when I was doing those thoughts on videos. I had a few that were not quite finished, and so they never got released. I don't know, it's a bit weird. I feel weird about the streaming and just about things like that. I had one of the things... I'm trying to find the right balance, you know? It's just tough. Trying to find the right balance. I said that I wanted to try and shake things up and do, like, relax a little bit. One of the things that I did earlier this year was I tried to record an off-the-cuff impressions thing. Maybe I like coming up with little terms for the things that I do, you know, little names for them so that we can have them in their own little category. Did I have a name for it? I don't know. But I would consider it to be first impressions of a game, basically. I had finished it, but when I do an actual review, I finish the game at least twice. So in my mind, it's a first impression if I just finish the game once. And I recorded it. I don't know. Now, obviously, I never released it, you know. And I didn't do another one. That was a couple of months ago now. The game, I'm sure some of you would be curious, so I don't mean to be coy. The game was Wild Bastards that I played, and I didn't pick it for any particular reason. It's just what I was playing at that moment, so I thought, spur of the moment, just give it a shot, try it. But I don't know. To me, it kind of feels like a waste of time. Is a harsh way to put it, but I don't know. You know, like with the videos, I'm trying to be very respectful of your time. That's why I work on them and try and make them concise and try to release them when if I have something interesting to say and not just all the time for no reason. So that you go on the channel and then it's good. Hopefully you feel like it's all good and you can just click on whatever. And I know you sign up for something different. I know when you watch the streams or whatever, but yeah. Probably shouldn't be getting this introspective. But you got something good out of me lately, so I'm allowed to be a little bit self-indulgent in my own way. Now, the vivisection. Oh yeah, this is the third sort of section, yeah. So we've got 3 pretty distinct ideas and it just bounces back and forth between them at a really nice pace. I like the way it goes back to that idea of going through the doors. I don't know, the pacing here is really fun. You wouldn't want the whole game to be like this, but yeah. It's, yeah, somebody said it's probably, watching this now, I'm only now realizing how much it was probably an influence on Kid Icarus Uprising. Here's a crazy thought, right? Nintendo owns all the best rail shooters. Nintendo has 3 different rail shooter IPs now. That's crazy. And they're all good. You know, if you count Star Fox as a rail shooter. Star Fox, Sin and Punishment, Kid Icarus. Because this is a Nintendo game. Nintendo owns this IP. Treasure made it, but Nintendo owns this IP, as far as I'm aware, anyway. It may be rumors which I've just made up say that it may be the only IP they would be willing to trade to get the Wonderful 101 back. You know? Well, that's the thing. It's somebody said Time Crisis. Time Crisis isn't a rail shooter, it's a light gun game in my mind. They're kind of different. But I played a lot of light gun games as well. You know? Star Fox, Kid Icarus, and Sin and Punishment. 3 different rail shooter IPs. All belong to Nintendo. It's crazy. I wish Nintendo made more arcadey games, honestly. When was the last time there really was an arcadey Nintendo game? All the WarioWare games are arcadey. You gotta give them that. But do they make any arcadey games at all anymore? I mean, Sega was always the more arcadey one. You know, the Mega Drive was a lot more arcadey than the SNES, so it's not new for Nintendo to be less representative of this style of design. But man, it would be nice to see some more of it out of them. I know they're not really responsible for this game, but probably partially responsible for Kid Icarus. I don't think Sakurai was working with Bandai back then, so it was probably a Nintendo team that worked on it, if I had to guess. This boss is a bit weird now. Must be said. He says while playing Sin and Punishment. What I mean is I'm just not 100% comfortable with this one. The perspective and stuff makes it a little bit tricky. When in doubt, try a reflect. It's actually not that bad now. This is maybe the one thing on this stream so far that I'm actually doing better than usual. Somehow, I don't know how. Somehow it's clicking for me right now. Something's happening in my mind. That was unfortunate timing. Star Fox 64 was probably Nintendo's last arcade game. Star Fox Zero was pretty... Oh, that was Platinum, yeah. I haven't actually played the Star Fox games that are on the GameCube. Jeez, you might be right. Star Fox 64 You might be right, yeah. That's sad. That's pretty sad. Surely Splatoon Raiders. That thing's just hanging out back there. Look at that. That's kind of bullshit. Come on, man. Get out of there. Well, no, yeah. I was going to say the Wonderful 101 kind of, but no, that was Platinum as well. If we're talking about actually Nintendo developed. Yeah. I've been thinking about that for a while, about the way Nintendo don't make arcade games, but I hadn't really thought it was that bad. Yeah, the WarioWare games, I mentioned that earlier. They count in my mind. They're arcadey. They're definitely arcadey. Rhythm Heaven as well. Rhythm Heaven is pretty arcadey. Well, it's basically the same as WarioWare. If WarioWare counts, Rhythm Heaven counts as well. F-Zero GX. I haven't played F-Zero GX. It probably has a campaign mode that's pretty arcadey though, right?
Finally. I thought you'd never show up.
Hey Matt, can you work with a team of people and creatively direct a big budget video game for us already, please? Someday, man. Someday. Oh, you reminded me. Not that we're gonna fund these things here. But yeah, I was thinking I haven't really looked at this goal thing. There's a goal thing and I should look at it. It's kind of a test stream after all. Timer 30 minutes. You can set the timer to 3 hours. And you can set a super chat goal. And then there's a how you'll celebrate. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, man, you give me $10 million and I'll work. I'll work with someone. Just give me $10 million. No, I honestly don't know what big budget game I would make right now if I was asked to. What would I make? I don't know. What I was going to say about the goal thing is I have mixed feelings on this. I'm kind of tempted to play around with it. I was looking for it on Patreon as well. There used to be a thing on Patreon, maybe it's still there tucked away somewhere, where you could you could set goals. Because I used to have it on there just to show people basically what I would need to be at to avoid dipping into my savings, you know? You can set goals on this thing. I don't know if I want to do this or not. I was thinking maybe I could put goals in the chat to help fund certain things. Like I was talking about the Stream Deck earlier, or a Switch 2, or maybe a fucking Steam machine or something. But yeah, it's a trade-off because it kind of determines what the money has to be spent for. It's just a fact that people prefer to buy things that are fun, you know, and I don't blame anybody for that. But people would probably rather put their money towards like a Switch 2 than, you know, staying alive, which, I mean, if you're giving me the money, which I totally understand. So on the one hand, you wonder, you know, if you would get more money by telling people that that's what you'll spend it on. On the other hand, there's maybe more important things to do with it, you know? We were talking about something though. Oh yeah, what would I do if I had a lot of money? What game would I make? I kind of don't really have anything in the mid-budget range. I have, you know, I tend to have ideas for lots of different games at once. I know I had a few of them outlined before, but I had ideas for lots of different genres and stuff. But you kind of, some of them stick around and you still think they're a good idea, and some of them you kind of go, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was actually a good idea. If you give it a while, you know? You want to make an MMO? Make a sequel to Moho. You can probably you can probably buy the rights for a sandwich. Need an idea that justifies the budget first. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I haven't really been watching anime. I haven't watched anime in a good while. Oh, that reminds me. Check this out. I should test this as well. I was tweaking the settings on the transitions a little bit. I finally updated OBS for the first time in ages. And probably some of these options were here before already anyway. But this is one of the other little improvements that I made. Hopefully it'll work properly. There we go. Sound only. I just was happy with the way it faded in, the way I got the fade in to work on that, where it fades out quickly and then comes in nice and slow, you know? I don't know how I feel about the scroll exactly because it doesn't scroll in the show. But I like the fade on that at least. And then I changed the one for the away thing. I fear like the clock wipe kind of conveys the idea that I'm going away. You know, and then we go back to the gameplay with our classic squares. Maybe I'm not imagining this right, but I kind of wish that there was an option to just undo the previous wipe. Like I think this away one would work better if it also was a clock coming back to the gameplay, but then it's just a little bit complicated. Because then what you can do is you can go from away to sound only, so which transition do you want for that, blah, blah, blah. It should be kind of like, rather than, if they were going to redo this, I think the way I would do it is, instead of having each scene have its own fade transition override, what you would have is you would have an arrow going in each direction. Or no, you can't do, yeah, no, I only have 3 scenes, so. But yeah, really what you want is you want the transition to be between 2 different scenes. Do you know what I mean? No, I didn't add the Pizza Tower technical difficulty. No, I need to do that. I should do that. I should have done that while I was messing around with all those settings. Gotta say, it's not bad, OBS. I like what you can do with it is... I used to stream directly from the Elgato thing, the capture card, and it's just not as flexible, or maybe that's changed now as well, you know, but at least back when I was doing it, it wasn't really easy to test what you were doing, so if you wanted to test some kind of change, you had to go and stream, but with OBS, there's an option to record, so you can just kind of pretend that you're streaming and you can see how it's going, you know. That was actually going alright. She's actually pretty hard on hard. Oh, I don't know how I managed to do that because I feel like I was not even conscious for that boss fight. I'm kind of sad that I didn't close that one out. I feel like there is maybe something I don't understand about this boss though, because it does feel kind of like luck of the draw. In order to stun her, you have to parry her 3 times in a row. But it's up to her whether or not she slips past you and tries to attack you from a different angle. And then it seems like even if you parry that, it doesn't actually... Seems like the count has reset on her stun. So I feel like there's something that I'm not quite understanding here. And I don't know whether it's better to try and get another combo in or do that charge attack. I'm not, by the way, when I say these kinds of things, I'm not looking for advice from the chat or anything. I'm not going to be livid if you give it or whatever, but you know, I'm just saying, it's not me asking for help. Let me put it that way. I like to figure things out for myself. Oh yeah, it's probably still pretty early stages. Pizza Tower to have shared a snippet of their beat 'em up. Probably pretty early stages, but yeah, that's cool. I will give it a look. See there, parried her again. Didn't I make a sumo joke on a stream recently about... This is another sumo thing, because of the way you aren't allowed to get to the edge of the arena. I think when she does this, I can shoot her, right? And you wanna... yeah. Well... you can reflect those, I think. Yeah, I doubt anybody's coming here for advice from me. But, I remember... One of the best things you can do against this boss is, like, she shoots out these orbs and they kind of, like, strengthen the other shots. I don't know how to describe it. But you want to basically not have those orbs in front of you. Okay, now there's some lock there. Right, if she dodges me, I dodge her. That's the way I'm going to play it. Yeah, these things. When she shoots them out, see, it causes those shots to redirect. So you don't really want to have them on top of you. You want to try and move to a different part of the arena if you can. Mess that up big time, but yeah. No backseating. The big 360 rotation guy rematch in the last stage is complete garbage. Worst section of the game. What are we talking about there? The 360 guy? Talking about the part where you're chained to the guy. Which company in the 80s, 90s do you think made the best arcade games slash machines? I don't know. Don't know. I do. First of all, I think the 80s and 90s are just very different eras as well. You know. I think my gut says Capcom. Part of the reason for Capcom is that they just put out a lot of stuff as well, you know? There's a quantity thing there as well. I'm not big into Street Fighter, but you gotta get them Street Fighter. Ghouls and Ghosts. Battle Circuit is great. They have a bunch of other beat 'em ups that I mean, it's not my definitive opinion because I can't say that I've put a huge amount of time into all of them or whatever, but I think Battle Circuit is probably the best one. But they have other competent beat 'em ups at least. Then they've got shmups that people are fond of as well. I don't know that I get along with their shmups as well as most people. I don't know about that. There is, yeah, somebody said Sega. I think part of it as well is... Yeah, Sega might be the best answer. See, the reason I wasn't thinking Sega was because you think about the kinds of games that are easy to play today. It's not the same thing. Sega definitely made better, at least from the games that I know about. Sega definitely made better use of the arcade cabinet as a structure, you know, light gun games and stuff. I don't know if Capcom has any light gun games. But Sega had House of the Dead, you know, House of the Dead, Crazy Taxi. I feel like I'm forgetting another big one. But, you know, then they also had some regular, more, I don't know, normal arcade stuff like Fantasy Zone and whatever, you know. And House of the Dead alone is a big one. Time Crisis would be Namco, right? Point Blank also had an arcade cabinet. I feel like Namco was also very good at using the cabinet. I'm not sure if they made this one or not, but one of the games I always think about, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it before, was Sniper Scope. Probably talked about it on stream before. But I didn't play it that many times, I mean. I didn't play Sniper Scope that many times. But man, what a cool fucking cabinet. Because I'm pretty sure how it worked was... Oh, Silent Scope, that's the name of it. Sorry, yes, Silent Scope. Pretty sure how it worked was there was a screen. It was like a light gun game, but with a sniper rifle, and you were looking over at, say, a big apartment building or something like that, and the screen was a regular view, but then the scope itself was another screen, I think, and you got a much higher resolution, much more close up view. That's Konami. Okay. I was kind of unsure whether or not it was the same people that made Time Crisis. So it wasn't. Okay. Then I don't know. I'm not sure I know enough about who made what to give you a good answer to that question. When you At least back in the day, when you went into the arcade, you weren't really thinking about who made what machine, you know? Yeah, it wasn't always all that obvious. What was I thinking for... Oh, for Sega, Hang On would be Sega as well, right? And Space Harrier. Of course. Space Harrier takes place in the Fantasy Zone, you know. Oh, yeah. There is an upside to that, because that's what allows you to reflect them. Yeah. That's why I wasn't totally wrong about that. Those purple ones, you can reflect them, but only when they go through. Only when they go through one of those things. Which is interesting. That's nice nuance. But I just want to kill her and get this over with, because... You know, when I do these things on stream, I'm answering questions, and I barely feel like I'm playing. And then I watch the stream back, and it's like an hour. Yeah, you were fighting this boss for an hour, and everybody was fucking sick of it, man. You know? Oh, I thought she was going to be stunned. That's why I went. Just trying to. Come on. No! Okay, one more time. Come on. Fucking. God. There's a new silent scope. Seriously? Or the newest, I suppose. That could have been 10 years ago by now. How new? I didn't know they were still making them, obviously. Do you have any thoughts on the seemingly inverse correlation between graphical realism and mechanical depth / refinement? Yes, I do. That's one of the ones I'm not going to answer right now, but I would like to talk about that in a way, at least. But yes, it's a good question, and it does seem to be the case, doesn't it? Maybe I should be trying to get into that area. I don't know. That seemed like it was worth it. Come on now. Maybe I'm just not being aggressive enough. Okay. Alright. Maybe I just needed to be more aggressive. That went surprisingly well.
All right, you win. Wow. You really are something else. Uh-oh. I think we may have been a little too noisy.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you to everybody who's
Roughhousing woke up the
given
little
well
guy.
wishes as well. I'm sure I missed a few.
Got a scoop.
Wait,
Thank you for tuning in,
how is it that you're
everyone.
waiting for us at every turn? How are you tracking our movement?
Get someone to fund the next few years of your life. You could get the all special run, no prob, easy after a few years. Yeah. Oh, I forgot that there's a whole other boss fight after her. I forgot about that. Crazy. Yeah, I suppose I won't spoil it, but there's a bit at the end of the original Sin and Punishment that I found very funny, where the game hints at something, a bonus that you could get that just seems absolutely preposterous, you know. Maybe it's not that bad, but I remember I think I laughed out loud when it first came up on screen. Surely everybody who plays the game does not get it on their first playthrough or their first 1,000 playthroughs, you know. But yeah. Well, we kind of go back to Alien Soldier as well, you know. It's the part where Issa plays logic bombs for a little bit. I have not worked out if there's a tell or whether he's going to go horizontal or vertical on those swipe attacks. This boss, I remember thinking last time I did this, I died somewhere along the way. And I remember thinking this boss would be a lot easier if you could just get to the top. Because his health resets when you get to the top. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Favorite treasure game after Alien Soldier? It would be one of these two Sin and Punishment games. I'm not sure which one. I think this is just a gut feeling, but probably this is the better of the two Sin and Punishment games. It's just there's so much more in it that it takes so much longer to get to grips with, you know. I would say not only is it much longer than the original Sin and Punishment, but it probably just minute per minute has more things you need to learn and figure out how you're supposed to deal with them. Maybe I would change my opinion. The original, if I went back and played the original again, because the original is no slouch in that regard either. But I just feel like this one has a lot going on. Like, in this one, you know, the bomb blocks here are genuinely something that you kind of have to wrap your head around. You'll see if I get to the proper boss fight, he drops them down, so you have to keep in mind that these things explode orthogonally, and then they can set other bombs off so as not to be in range of the other ones, you know? And it's just a lot, there's a lot to keep in your head to play this game from start to finish. But that's also something to admire about it, you know? If you were stuck on a desert island, you'd probably want to have this game over the original. Because you'd have more to chew on. You know? You'd have more to chew on. I haven't played Silhouette Mirage, no. It's one of the ones I'd like to play. I haven't played Mischief Makers either, and I think Suginami directed that one, so I'm very interested in that one. From what I've seen of it, it looks absolutely hideous though. I don't know what's going on with the graphics in that game. It looks hideous. Maybe I'll change my tune when I play it, but I don't know. I want to play Tomba as well. I was never interested in Tomba, but fucking Ghouls and Ghosts is so fucking good, man. You know? What I should really do is I should just kind of need a refresher on what games came out in the year before and after. I know Ghouls and Ghosts came out same year as Super Mario Bros. 3. And I like Super Mario Bros. 3 a lot, you know. It's a bit of lore that I've beaten it like 5 times in one day. But Ghouls and Ghosts is better. I don't know if there's any game from 1988 that I would put over it. Or even 1987 or 1989 or 1990. You know? One of the things, I suppose I was already streaming Ghouls, so I suppose I can talk about it a little bit more. There's so much to admire about it in so many ways, you know. Obviously, it's the gameplay that I like above all else. It's the gameplay where I really consider it to be such a great game. But there's even just lots of little nice aesthetic touches in it and stuff, you know. One of the things I was admiring about it is I don't think this was really normal for the time. It's easy to take for granted, you know, the way all the skeleton murderers, that's what their name is, skeleton murderer. The skeleton murderers, the way they have all those little animations where they pop out of the ground or they appear from behind a tree or something. They have all these little animations just for when they're going to spawn in. There's at least, maybe it's just 2, honestly, but there's at least 2 little spawning animations. And they're charming, and it gives you a reason to believe, even though it's such a cartoony game, it's got this kind of reasonable excuse for where these things are coming from. And why there would be so many of them and stuff, you know? And they kind of do the same thing with the fire bats as well. The way the fire bats appear is, in a way, it's even better because it's got all these gameplay ramifications to it where the flame blocks projectiles and you can shoot them while they're spawning in, but also they spawn at variable lengths, so they're not always appearing in the same place on the screen and all that. So when you see one appearing, you don't know how far it's going to extend vertically up or down. It's just... that just wasn't normal. It just wasn't normal back then. And then to have that on top of it being such a great game in general, you know. Yeah, we're supposed to be playing Sin and Punishment, but my mind is elsewhere. I think, I don't think I could say that this is my final opinion on it, but since you asked, I think the original, can't really call it the original. Super Ghouls and Ghosts is a sequel, you know, it's not like a remake or anything. I think Ghouls and Ghosts is better than Super Ghouls and Ghosts. The auto-scrollers in Super Ghouls and Ghosts kind of kill the pacing a little bit, I think. Particularly the one on the ocean. And it's not that it has nothing going for it, you know. But it just feels a bit drawn out. Especially by comparison to the other game. But I don't know, I've played more of Ghouls than I have of Super, so... it's one reason to take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt there, you know? Gotta be something I can reflect at them, but I haven't. Pretty much every boss has something you can reflect at them. Oh yeah! There you go. Check out Namco's Valkyrie Legend from 1989. That game's arguably better than Ghouls and Ghosts. I really don't think I'm gonna agree with you. I really don't think I'm gonna agree with you on that one in the end. But I'll give it a look. It's not one that springs to mind anyway, so. Should play the arcade version of Ghouls and Ghosts if you're looking for a different version. Kind of tempted to try the PC Engine version, but I don't know. I don't know if there's any point. Valkyrie Legend. You've definitely piqued my interest.
Gap in space-time. Teleporting.
Oh, I get it. You zapped us out just before I got squashed.
I had to, but I don't do it often because it's hard to control.
So much for finding that spaceship, huh?
You almost had me convinced it would work.
Should have asked this sooner, but since it's kind of a test stream, the microphone is okay. Yeah, my words aren't getting cut off or anything. Because that's kind of a danger with this noise gate that I have set up. Is that it might cut off the start and the end of sentences, but it hasn't been happening.
Okay.
Next stop, Mount Fuji.
Cool.
Something's not right.
I've gotten a surprising amount of playtime out of the battery, even though it's red, you know. It went red partway through hard mode last time, maybe. I don't know. I've definitely done at least a couple of hours before the stream even started with the battery in the red, and we've been going for a few hours now as well. So don't swap out your battery just because it goes red. See, I'm not even sure how I feel about this section with the limited light, but this is just such a treasure thing, you know? Just giving you this dark area where now the thing also illuminates the area, has this dual function. They just love doing, I don't know, man. It's great. There's a low light area in Alien Soldier as well, you know? It's kind of reminiscent of that. From what I remember of this level, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Now, if I continue playing, I think I'm going to wrap it up soon. But if I continue playing, the next boss is probably going to wall me on hard, because she's probably the biggest difficulty spike in the whole game. At least she was for me in the first time through. So, I don't think we're getting any further than this stage. But that's okay. It's not what it's about. Just having a little stream. Does game design more or less just boil down to fairness and how many decisions the game forces you to make? No, I wouldn't say so. I think that's first of all, it doesn't apply to a lot of genres in some sense, you know. It's pretty fair. Like, I'm trying to think of a counterexample here, but well, yeah. I was gonna say puzzle games are pretty much automatically fair, right? But I don't know if that's really true exactly. Even for logic bombs, you know, I'm not dismissing this complaint, but people sort of complained about the tutorial for one of the rules. Pretty hard to cram it into the I think you said GBA, Game Boy, original fucking Game Boy screen. You know, maybe I could have done a better job on that. But this is a mad idea I've been having as well. Is I don't know. We were talking about this before on. I was talking about it before on stream about how people are scared of the George Lucas thing of going back and editing things, and I was saying that games are kind of more suitable for that in some way than a lot of other mediums. I think it just kind of makes more sense to go in and tweak a game, you know. And I don't know, I feel like I've taken a long enough break from Logic Bombs now that I'm kind of tempted to do it again. There's not really any point. And to be honest, it kind of runs contrary to what I was originally trying to achieve with the game anyway, to go back and tweak anything in it. I'll go into more detail about this at some point, but I kind of wanted it to have a little bit of chaos in it, you know? And so I don't really want to sand it down by trying to refine anything in it. But I don't know, sometimes I think about it and I think, kind of nice just to edit a few puzzles here and there. Thank you, Eliza, I appreciate it. It's a lot. But yeah, I don't know what to say, so thank you. Well, I'm glad you played the game that way, because I think it feels a little bit better to experience it in a more authentic way, you know. So it's always good to hear about people playing on original hardware. Yeah, I've been kind of tempted to go back in and tweak stuff. I don't know. Or just see if I can come up with some more puzzles. But there's not really much point in me doing that right now. It's probably not going to bolster sales enough where that will make sense financially or anything. Well, you know. And I'm not really 100% in the mood for it, you know. At some point it's just time to move on. But I just think, I suppose, it's because another thing that I would like to do is a developer commentary, and there's really no point doing that until the game is really truly over with, and so I'm forced to confront the question, is it really over now, you know? And I suppose it is, but I don't know. I suppose I'm curious if the chat has any thoughts. What do you think? If you're a Logic Bombs fan, you give me a genuine thought here. If you enjoyed it at all. Say if I was to go in and tweak something like 10 puzzles, would you trust that I would tweak 10 puzzles and they would all be weak puzzles that you thought could kind of do it being a bit better anyway? I'm not even sure. I have one puzzle for sure that I think is just outright bad, you know, but there's one that actually pisses me off, that when I think about it, it pisses me off because I spent so long making it and then it never came together right, and it just doesn't work, and it just pisses me off when I think about it. You know, but most of them aren't like that, but I could probably pick something like 10 puzzles that are just are what I consider to be the 10 worst puzzles in the game. And I have no idea if I'd be okay with that. I would trust you with my life. Thank you. Probably shouldn't, honestly. Yeah, well, the original version is already out there. I was thinking, you know, even if I tweak it, what I can do is I can just keep the current version, keep a backup ROM. But I don't know if I would bother. I don't know if I would bother trying to preserve the PC version. You know what I mean? But it's easy. It is easy to keep a backup ROM in the folder there with the current version of the Game Boy thing. Yeah, that's the same take, all right, Sam. Sam says, I'd leave it the way it is and maybe work what you learned from the bad puzzle in a future game. Yeah. That is the same take, all right. It's just kind of tempting, you know? But you're probably right. Thought you could destroy these while they're up there, but apparently you can't. You couldn't do that with a real Game Boy release. Yeah, but it hasn't had a real Game Boy release yet. That's another thing. That would be nice to do, but I want to make sure that I'm totally finished with the game first. I feel like if we do a physical Game Boy version, then I'm really not going to want to add anything. The only thing that I would be comfortable adding at that point would be some kind of PC exclusive feature of some kind, you know? Something that wouldn't work on the Game Boy. I think it sucks when people do a physical... it just fucking sucks all around. It's just hard. It sucks. I don't want anyone holding this against me, right? Because if I'm guilty of this in the future, I will still think it kind of sucks. Do you know what I mean? Like if there's a physical Game Boy version and then I tweak it afterwards, I will still think that that's kind of unfortunate in a way, you know? But it doesn't mean that the whole thing is a catastrophe and it's all bad. But just it would suck. It sucks when people release physical versions of their games and then there's a patch. And the patch turns out to be something really important that you want, you know? Like, for example, I have a lot of Switch 1 games. I kind of enjoyed... I don't know how many people envision when I say a lot. I think I have something like, say, 20 Switch cartridges. You know, I'm not a collector. I know there's people that have whole fucking libraries of Switch cartridges. But I have something like maybe a little over 20, maybe 25 Switch cartridges. But a lot of those cartridges are not as valuable to me now because, like, say I have Echoes of Wisdom there, right? And it's nice to have it on the physical, but if you're going to play it on the Switch 2, which is obviously the ideal way to play it now, it has to be patched, I think. Or at least there is a patch for it, you know, but at the same time, they're not wrong to do that, right? It's a good thing that they released the patch and improved the game. So it's just one of those unfortunate situations, and it's good to try and minimize that if you can, you know. But yeah, I mean, I haven't even made any moves towards a physical version. I don't know how that would all work or whatever. So... it's all very theoretical, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, I have enough to be doing that. Tweaking Logic Bomb shouldn't be something that's on my mind, but you know what I mean. Easy now. Thank you. I remember this was all a spin-off of an earlier question, which was something about fairness, you know. I was talking about whether puzzle games are fair, but... so the question is, of course, you know, is it fair then? I think... I think there are some puzzle games you can look at where there is maybe an element of unfairness to them, now that I think about it. It's kind of... fairness is not really the term I would use, you know. But it's kind of an aspect of games like Steven Sausage Roll or Can of Wormholes or whatever that I'm a little bit ambivalent about, which is... part of what those games are doing is there's sort of hidden rules to them that you find out because the developer, first of all, doesn't allow you to discover those rules. They set up the earlier level design so that you can't actually discover certain rules. Certain moves are not possible, so certain interactions are hidden from you, you know. And then later they constrain the game such that you are more likely to discover those hidden rules, right? And it's very clever and it can be very satisfying. Monsters Expedition is another game that did this kind of thing as well. But there is maybe a question that is it fair? You know, you can get to a point with those games sometimes where you're just kind of messing around, and especially after Steven's Sausage Roll, I think, you know, when developers started taking more influence from that game, I think it was a fairly influential game, they started taking influence from it, and this thing became a bit more normalized. You kind of sometimes get to a point with the game where you feel like, okay, there's a hidden interaction, but I don't know what it is, you know, and I'm just fucking around with the game trying to figure out what the hidden interaction is, and that's maybe not all that satisfying, you know. I don't know if I would call that unfair though. But then there's also something like The Witness as well, where the rules are not explicit and things are introduced to you gradually. And I didn't really have problems with it, but I can imagine players having certain problems when they don't understand. They don't, maybe they're not paying enough attention to the things that certain panels are teaching them and using them to rule out certain things, you know. But again, I personally would not call that unfair, but I can kind of see how it would come about that way in somebody's mind. Yeah, Baba Is You is another example. There was definitely points like that in Baba. I mean, it's a fucking great game. It's like, and it's a phenomenal concept, you know, just one of the things I was most afraid of when Baba Is You was revealed. I loved the idea from the moment it was revealed. But one of the things I was most afraid of was that I looked at it and I thought, wouldn't this game be too easy? You know? I was thinking, how is this game going to be made difficult? And that was not a problem at all. But Baba definitely had that problem sometimes where you get into a level and you know that there's something that you don't know. You don't know what it is, but you know there's something that you don't know. And you're just kind of looking for the thing that you don't know. And that's not my favorite part of those games, you know. But at the same time, there can be moments where you suddenly discover something. Another game that kind of does this is Monsters Expedition. I would say it doesn't have as much of it as some of the other games that we were talking about, but Monsters Expedition as well, where, you know, you're kind of going about your business and something just happens and you go, what the fuck? I didn't know that was possible. And then that's the magic moment, you know. The unfortunate flip side is that sometimes you do end up in that situation where it just doesn't happen for you. The magic moment doesn't happen by itself. And you're just kind of bouncing off the walls waiting for it to happen, you know? That's how it feels to me sometimes anyway. How do you avoid it though? I don't know, you know? And I'm not sure that I would call it unfair. Because it's not like the game has ever, in those situations, it's not like the game has ever explicitly told you that you can or can't do this certain thing, you know? And all games are kind of like this to an extent, where you have to play with them a little bit. I talked about this actually in the Super Metroid Vivisection, where you know, you can form this habit of actually playing with the game and trying to understand what is or isn't possible just by messing with the controls and exploring what's in front of you, and that some players are more inclined to do that than others, you know. I think it's true just in general that some people, depending on their personality, will be more inclined to do that, but also maybe that there's a somewhat of a generational divide there as well. Which is not my attempt to shit on anyone for their generation. This is something that I see online sometimes, which I think is just kind of shitty, which is people talk about generational people talk like generalize about generations, and I don't really like that. I think it kind of sets people against each other in a way which isn't actually true, you know? Like people complain about millennial writing, which I actually think if you were going to pin it on any generation is more of a Gen X thing. If you were going to pin it on a generation. Well, you know, I'm a millennial, and I can tell you, I don't want to write like what millennial writing is, so I don't want to do that. So likewise, I don't want to say that all Zoomers have no attention span or whatever, you know? I think if there is a problem there, it's probably just because of things that this environment that people are growing up in nowadays and stuff, you know? Like I was saying with games back in the day, there was less information, so you just were more inclined to press the buttons to try and figure out what the fuck was going on. And it turns out that that's a good habit to have. You know what I mean? At least I think it is. I should probably just take the strap off. I find it kind of comfortable to use the strap. I know everybody laughs about the strap, but compared to just having it dangling there, I kind of prefer to have it on. But I have a cup of tea here that I'm drinking. So now I'm taking the strap on and off, which is a big waste of time. This battery's still going on this thing. Still going. Did anybody answer why is it a lizard? Does anybody know? Because it's genuinely something that perplexes me about it. I don't know what the story is. Yeah, I agree with you there. So, the wonderful 101. I agree with you. It really doesn't help that the all-encompassing offers of Fortnite and Roblox are much more appealing than a 7-year wait between whatever series would otherwise captivate the Gen Alphas or Zoomers. Yeah. I think the absolute peak, the peak of this during my life, which is just crazy to think about, is you had Nintendo doing their thing, but Sony, I mean, they weren't first party studios at the time, but they were Sony exclusive games owned by Sony. Sony were putting out, for a period of a couple of years, a Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper, and Ratchet and Clank game every year. So if you liked 3D platformers, 3D actiony game things, three exclusive Sony ones were coming out every year, and they were all quality games, you know. That is just a totally different ball game to what kids today are going through. That same generation, you would have had on Nintendo side, you would have had 2 Zelda games. I mean, Twilight Princess only got in right at the end. But that didn't happen very often either, that you got 2 Zelda games on one console. You know, all kinds of series got 3 installments, like Devil May Cry, Silent Hill. There was an absolute truckload of Shin Megami Tensei games and spin-offs. You had what? Digital Devil Saga, Nocturne, Persona 3 and 4. All of those are PS2 games. Raiden, 2 Raiden games, they're PS2 games. Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. Granted, Eco started its life as a PS1 game. And Shadow of the Colossus really struggled, you know. 2 Final Fantasy games, 2 mainline proper Final Fantasy games, which is only 1 less than they had on the PS1 generation. I don't know. Then lots of other little like 3 Time Splitters games. There's Time Splitters. I don't have the third one. That's why it didn't occur to me until just there. But yeah, 3 Time Splitters games. 2 Beautiful Joe games. I don't know, man. Totally different ball game. Indies are picking up some of the slack, though, you must admit. Some of that is just being diverted to indie games. Sometimes you get a nice surprise indie game that you had no idea was coming, and then all of a sudden you have something to play, you know? We're not even at the really hard part of this stage yet. That's the sad thing. Half of Kamiya's games were in one gen, am I right? You are kind of right, actually, yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way, but of the games he directed, he's directed, what is it, 6 games? Just 6 games? Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe, Okami, Bayonetta, The Wonderful 101. Yeah, he's directed just 6 games. And 3 of them came out in one generation, you're right. Fucking hell. It's my fault, fellas, for being a fan of Kamiya. It's my fault that he hasn't put anything out in so fucking long. Because I would enjoy it. That's why. That's why it hasn't happened. So, sorry, fellas. But, yeah, I was thinking, this is something I think about from time to time because gaming is full of these little tragedies, isn't it? I was playing Demon's Crest earlier today. I was kind of tempted to stream that one, but I streamed it before and I don't really know what I would say about it or whatever. I'm on the ghouls and ghosts kick. And I don't know, Tokuro Fujiwara did not direct it, but it's a cool game. You know, I don't know where it ranks amongst NES games. I definitely wouldn't put it over Super Metroid or A Link to the Past. But it's a cool game. And he was involved in a lot of cool stuff. And then he went off by himself and he kind of dropped off the map then for the most part, you know? And that's his right. And if it made him happy, great. Or if he was just fed up with Capcom, I get it, you know? But you can't help but wonder, you know? He had a bunch of arcade games under his belt and then he made Ghosts and Goblins and Sweet Home. And he was the producer on the original Resident Evil. And then he made Tomba, which some people like. I haven't played it, but Hungry Ghosts seems cool as well. At least it's got a really cool atmosphere. It's kind of got a similar atmosphere to Demon's Crest. But yeah, you know, just an interesting guy, and I just wish we had gotten more out of him, that's all. Same is true for Hideyuki Suginami. I don't know. I wish we got more out of him, you know? I probably told this story before, but Suginami wanted to make Alien Soldier all by himself. And he set about trying to make it himself. And I think the story goes, I could be getting this part wrong, but the story goes, he was working on it all himself. And he was actually getting along well. And the president actually thought he would be able to do it. He would be able to do it all himself. But the Mega Drive was running out of time, basically. So they had to bring some other people on board to try and get it done, and they basically ran out of time because there was no more life left in the Mega Drive. So the game got shipped unfinished. You know, there's a boss in it called Seven Force that only has 5 forms, you know. But I don't know, it's a bit of a tragedy. My mind does tend to go to Japanese game directors more often, but there's other ones as well, like Will Wright, you know? I feel like Will Wright probably had another genre-defining game in him. I never played Fable. I think Peter Molyneux directed that, did he? But, you know, Peter Molyneux, I know he's working on one at the minute. I hope it turns out good. I'm genuinely rooting for him. I know he's a bit of a nutcase and he overpromises and underdelivers and all that, but I don't know. Shinji Mikami as well. He has had a better career than most of those people that I've listed. He's got a lot of games out. And some really good ones, you know? But I don't know, was it he seemed interested in this idea of mentoring people. Again, I could be mistaken about this, but it seemed like he wanted to mentor people and kind of help foster a new generation, and it seems like it didn't really work out all that much. And maybe he should have just been directing things, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he didn't want to, you know? You want to take a break from it or something. But yeah, Kamiya has fallen into that category now as well, because we're 13 years removed from the last game he directed. But you know, he was involved in some other games. I think Bayonetta Origins has a nice story. I kind of suspect what happens there though is he goes and he meets Shu Takumi for drinks and gets him plastered and, you know, asks him a few questions. I just named another one without, well, kind of. I mean, he did the Great Ace Attorney. Great Ace Attorney is great. We didn't get it for a long time, but we haven't seen anything from Shu Takumi in ages either. Yeah. Well, you know, he might be on a new IP. I don't know. Maybe. Capcom's maybe not quite on the win streak they were on at one point, but I can't say I ever envisioned them getting the original directors of fucking Ghosts and Goblins and Okami to come back and make new games. I mean, that's a nice move. Like that's the kind of gamer move that gamers dream of, right? If I was the CEO, if I'm the CEO, I'm getting the Okami guy back, right? Even if you know nothing about Okami, I'm getting this, and we're going to make a new Okami. That's a pretty cool move. So maybe they got something going on for him behind the scenes. Shu Takumi, I mean. I would like to hope so. I was talking before about, yeah, this came up on this was actually on my mind because there's always, when I talk about things, there's always little examples that pop up that I should have mentioned, you know. It's easy to talk about. You know, I was talking about Sony's approach to games differing from Nintendo's, in that they rely a little bit more on narrative sequels. And if you fuck up a narrative sequel, it's detrimental in a way that, you know, if you don't care about Mario Galaxy, you can still love Mario Odyssey or vice versa. But another example that came to mind to me afterwards was Ace Attorney, because that series is just, I'm just not interested in the overarching story the way I might have been for the original trilogy. You know, it kind of went off the rails a little bit, I think. And the Great Ace Attorney was a nice way of resetting that. And that's part of why I would like to see Shu Takumi working on something different, just because I don't want them really to be tied to where the Ace Attorney series has gone. It's not that I hate it or anything, it's just kind of like, I don't know, even if they did a really good job, I don't know if I want to have 7 games of lore build up in the background, you know? But I do feel like the original trilogy was a bit stronger in that regard, in the overarching story or whatever. And I thought that was an aspect of the Great Ace Attorney that was done really well. It was definitely, of all those games, it's definitely by far the best that the sort of overarching plot has been, because the characters were just more endearing, and I don't know, it felt a touch more grounded maybe. So yeah, that's another reason why I would like to see him working on something new. By the way, this is a good time to ask. I forgot I should ask this. I'm in the mood to read visual novels. Been kind of oscillating between wanting to play gamey games and just take a break. So I'm in the mood to read some visual novels. So if anybody wants to, what's the absolute best? But I got a low anime tolerance these days, honestly. See, this is, am I gonna go there? It's just hard for me to trust weebs, you know. And I can't believe I'm saying this, because by all rights I should be a weeb. Do you know what I mean? Man, like, I know some fucking Japanese, and by all rights I should be a weeb. Maybe I am, but it's hard for me to trust weebs, man. It really is, because people talk about anime stories that like they're the greatest things ever, and then you read it or you watch it and you think, okay, come on now, you know. Let's be real here, you know. So yeah, I don't know. Ever 17, I've read that. House and Fata Morgana, I'm going to read that. I started it, I'm reading it. If you're into anime, you don't want to read visual novels. Yeah, I know what you mean. Witch on the Holy Night. I've never related to someone so hard. Her Story. Okay. Paranormasight. No, I played Paranormasight and I thought it had a great premise. I thought it had a really, really great premise, but I feel like it didn't deliver. I'm talking about the first one now. I know there's a second one out. Maybe the second one is better. But man, I was loving it for the first hour or two. It had a kind of premise where you could see it going in a kind of Death Note, cat and mouse angle. You know, really kind of digging into these weird rules and stuff. And getting nice scenarios out of that. But it felt like that was all squandered to me. I didn't hate it, but... And it definitely had less, let's say, anime brain rot. I don't mean to be too derogatory, but... I've read The Silver Case, yeah. I haven't read the other one. Yeah, I've read Steins Gate. I have the Interquel, whatever that is. I think I've read most of that, but I didn't finish it. Steins Gate Zero, is that the one I'm thinking of? The one that kind of takes place in between, but yeah. I didn't hate Paranormasight. I liked the presentation. It did feel more grounded. Like, it had a grounded tone that I appreciate for the most part. I've also read 428. See, I've maybe read more of these than people would expect, but read 428 should be a scramble. Mixed feelings on that one. Presentation is definitely fun. I felt like that was another one that didn't quite coalesce, but I can't remember what exactly I didn't like about it. Um, but it was okay. It was okay. I'm okay with ones that are more gamey as well. Um, I've done uh, Master Detective's Rain Code. I did a good chunk of the 100 line, not every fucking ending, but I don't know enough about Air or Planet. I don't know enough about it. 25th Ward. Yeah, I haven't played the 25th Ward. I have never understood visual novels. Do you just press a button to read text with static images? Yes. There's also music as well, sometimes voice acting, and sometimes there can be branching paths, things like that. There's some visual novels, I don't know how much you know, but there's some visual novels that are more gamey, that have game-like elements in them, like Phoenix Wright or Danganronpa. And then also stuff like Zero Escape, which has puzzles, stuff like that. Rants, okay. Don't actually read rants. Chaos Head. You play Raincode as contextual justification to listen to the soundtrack, which is the true ending of the game. I'll admit that was a large part of what pulled me through. I don't think it was a particularly strong soundtrack for the composer, though. I forget his name, but I'm a big fan. Big fan. Forgot your name, but big fan. Yeah, I've played Snatcher and Police Knots as well. I do. I mean, they are very, very derivative of films. It's. I have mixed feelings on them for that alone. Like, Kojima was definitely pulling some shit there with Blade Runner and fucking Lethal Weapon, um, but I do. They are more grounded than a lot of visual novels that I've seen anyway. I've heard Hotel Dusk and Last Window are good, but I don't have access to them. I don't have them. So maybe they'll remaster them. They did that other one, but it seemed like they changed the art style a lot. Another code. This might get me killed, but I like Danganronpa way more than Ace Attorney. You know, it's kind of shameful because Danganronpa is such a fucking rip-off. But I might agree with you. I might agree with you. I think if we're talking about the great Ace Attorney, it's much more questionable in my mind. And it's been a long time since I did the original Ace Attorney trilogy, but um, what I will say is Kodaka has some balls, and I appreciate that, you know, because it's not something you see every day. He's got some balls, and that's fun, you know. And also, what I will say as well, though, that as much as I said that the Ace Attorney overall plot kind of went nowhere, the Danganronpa one kind of started nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, the overarching plot of those games is just not good. When you have something called the biggest, most tragic, worst, most horriblest event in history, you know, I don't really want to spend that much time on it. No, I still haven't played that chronological version of The Last of Us. I will when I get the PSN month. I didn't really like all that much stuff that they revealed. Somebody chipped in to get me a month, and I haven't got it yet. Um, but I will. I'll get another month, and then I'll play the PS5 version maybe when I'm at that. I have a bunch of games that I want to get to though when I get that, so it will be fairly low on the list because I've played it before. It would be kind of nice to put my theory to the test, although you've about chronological presentation being a bit better, but of course the game wasn't built for that in the first place. I imagine there's going to be a whole bunch of walkie-talkie bits all at once, but then maybe it's fun to get them out of the way, and then you don't have to go through them then. Um, but yeah, but also I also have my knowledge of the game, right? So I can't go back and play it and can't A/B test it. Hopefully nobody minds me sitting on the stream. I'm genuinely looking for more visual novels to play. I don't know that there's that much. It's also people have not been justifying their recommendations to me as well, which makes it a little bit hard. I gotta keep that other one in mind as well. What was it called? Valkyrie something by Namco. Valkyrie by Namco, 1989. I have not read Song of Saya. Yeah, although I mean, I've been spoiled on it, you know. So no, that's good. You wouldn't have played Danganronpa 2 and 3 if not for me recommending it. Okay, that's good. Um, yeah. Another thing as well is I think Danganronpa, the cases in it compared to Ace Attorney, just because of the crazier premise, it's got a couple of things going for it that really help. You know, the fact that everybody is in the trial together really gives it this high level of energy, which is fun, and also the fact that you're experiencing it with the same characters for the whole game. And then on top of that as well, the abilities of the characters, which are actually not put to use as much as maybe they should be, but when they are put to use, sometimes it leads to absolutely crazy cases. I don't even want to say which case, but I think anybody who's played the second game will know that one of the cases in that game, I don't please don't mention, for anybody who hasn't played, don't mention which case it is, because I think it's kind of even a spoiler to say which number it is, right? Because you don't want to play the game expecting to get to that one. So please nobody spoil that in the chat. But everybody knows what case I'm talking about. It's just absolutely phenomenal. You know, it was a phenomenal thing. Like, it's crazy, but it uses the crazy world of Danganronpa to do something really, really cool. You know, I kind of wish they did that more in Ace Attorney. They did a really cool subversion in one of the Ace Attorney games that I liked. But again, it's been years. The second game, I think, had it. Valkyrie Legends is like Wonder Boy and Monsterland plus The Legend of Zelda smashed into one arcade game. That sounds promising. I do like the Wonder Boy. I forget which one I played. It was probably just Wonder Boy and Monsterland. I played another one that was remade as well. But yeah, I've played the original, I think. Not sure if I beat it. Definitely got deep into it though. I think I beat it. I suppose that would be a 1 credit clear. That would be another 1 credit clear if I did that. I don't think there is continues in that one. Anyway. Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't mean to bring up the visual novel database runner died. I can't say I was familiar with the site or anything, you know. So I didn't know him or anything, but yeah. Yeah, I actually started reading Fata Morgana a couple of days ago before that happened. You know, when I hear news like that, maybe this is a little bit insensitive, but don't you kind of hope if it's somebody who who isn't actually known, you kind of just hope maybe he's retired. I don't know. Because if nobody knows him, maybe he just decided to retire and that's that. So, but yeah. Probably somebody has some proof somewhere or something if it's been announced. Well, yeah, I mean, I only found out about the guy the other day. I'm sure I would have heard of the VNDB at some point, but I'm not a big visual novel guy, so I never used it or anything. But definitely, you've got to be passionate to do something like that, you know? So. always respect the passion, fellas. That's my fucking, that's my take. Imagine trying to do a single segment no damage run of this game. I don't know, man. It's beyond me. Let me tell you. It is fucking beyond me. I was thinking, like, those little things don't actually inflict damage when they hit you. I mean, you can tell Treasure was actually trying to make it possible. Because I think it might genuinely have been impossible if those things actually did damage when they latched onto you. But man, I don't know. Maybe, you know, I never thought I would even finish Alien Soldier when I first started playing it, so you never know. I still don't have that no damage run though. You liked the visual novel parts of Neon White, if that even counts. My god. What's wrong with you? I'm not even sure anybody was supposed to like them. Fucking game was made by a shitposter, you know? Like, I have my suspicions. You know, I'll be honest, I think there maybe was one or two moments in the story of that game that I thought were actually surprisingly good. For the ways... For how disinterested in it I was most of the time. I think maybe it paid off in one or two moments, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I can't say I'm keen to watch all the cutscenes again and tell you. Cool game though, very cool game. I don't mean to disparage. Starting with ghouls and ghosts, and I'm going to work my way up to all these things that have eluded me, you know. I got loads of I'm trying to be kind here. I don't know how I can get around this, so I'm just going to talk about it. The game's been out for a few years. There's, you know, achievements you can get on the level that are maybe not explicitly shown to you on different levels. I actually had a lot of them. Man. I had maybe half of all levels done. I don't know. I had maybe half is an exaggeration, but probably at least a third. You know? I play games up to that point and then I just fucking stop. I move on to something else and it bothers me, man. Bothers me. I don't want to do it. That's the thing, is I don't do those kinds of things out of obligation, you know? I don't 100% games for no reason or whatever. I drop things, I move on when I feel it's time. Well, I was enjoying myself with it. I'm a streamer now, you know? I can just stream games and then that justifies playing whatever I like, so it's over now. We're going back. I don't even feel like playing this attempt out. Whenever Matt says slop, a part of me does. How many times have I said it? 3 times total, maybe? I don't think I've said that much. I'm just trying to loosen up a little bit. Forgive me for fucking loosening up a bit. Would you? I am totally tapped out of this game, it must be said. I don't even know what's going on there. I forgot about this boss until I re-encountered it, but I do remember it giving me a little bit of trouble first time through it as well. I think this is basically where I started properly getting stuck the first time. I say stuck, I mean it was probably, you know, 5 or 6 attempts to get this guy the first time around. But then the next boss is way harder, and then the game kind of eases up a bit, I think. Maybe I'll change my tune on hard mode, but... Matthew is a low effort streamer now. Matthew is now a blind cave salamander. Yeah. Oh. You can see me gesturing. First we go here, then we go there. Then we go up and down. And it's all synchronized as well, at least it should be. If I do up, down, left, and right. It's all synchronized. Picture and sound working together. What will they think of next? Yeah, I still don't like using Metroidvania. Let's vote now, though. Let's decide as a group. What is it? I don't want to use Metroidvania, I'm being fucking honest. I don't like any of those names. It's just a stupid thing. I don't know. I don't know if this extends to other media as well. If there's other media that have stupid fucking names like this now as well, but you know, I don't like roguelike or Zack-like or whatever the fuck. I don't like any of those names. Search action. Search action is maybe the best that I've heard, but come on, if you say to somebody, oh yeah, did you play that search action game? Exploration was what the Celeste devs were calling their game. That's not bad. Exploration. That's not bad, really. Exploration. I've never liked character action either, but I think I've kind of softened on it over the years, honestly. Maybe it's just not as bad by comparison. You know what I mean? We have much worse terms. In the meantime, you know, part of the problem, somebody says Zelda-esque. I assume you're being at least partially ironic, but part of the problem is just that you can probably point to some obscure game that nobody played that just predates Zelda and Metroid and has exactly all the exact same design, you know? I don't know. I'm trying to think of one, but it depends on what you consider to be a Metroidvania, I suppose. Yeah, wizardry likes. Yeah. Yeah, Soulsborne is a horrible one as well. Souls-like. Soulsborne has kind of fallen out of fashion. Now it's just Souls-like. Dark Souls has the Souls-like tag on Steam. Jeez. I'll go back to the main menu here. Maybe there'll be an attract mode video or something that will keep you entertained while I close out this stream. I actually don't think there is an attract mode video. I think it just loops this over and over again. But hey, at least it's a bit nicer than what we were on. Probably gonna wrap up soon. I'm pretty tired and I'm not really making a lot of sense. Strand games, yeah, fuck off with that one. Strand games. That one is especially egregious. It really is. I suppose I don't need to say any more on that, but you know. That one is especially egregious, I think. Fucking... I don't know. Yeah, it set me off a bit. It's just, you know... The question, I can't be the only one who wonders this. The question is, did this come about just because Kojima doesn't play games? You know? That's how you imagine it comes about, right? But then, surely somebody on the development team plays games and says, actually, man, this has been around for a while. Like, Death Stranding is what, 2018? I mean, come on, man. Those games were around for... what, near enough 10 years. 10 fucking years by the time his game came out. That's like releasing a game in 1990. 1990. You know, when we're past Super Mario Bros. 3 at that point. And you're saying, and you release a maze game and say, I've invented the maze genre, you know? Pac-Man is 10 years in the fucking rearview mirror. Crazy. Just fucking crazy. Yeah, well, it had to be before the pandemic. So, it was that long ago, unfortunately. Yeah, just talking some shit to end the night, alright? Yeah. That's if I'm going to be a real streamer, I need to try and... I might need to get a microphone arm or something. Because what you're hearing there is the chair. The chair makes creaking noises and the microphone is resting on the arm of the chair. It's not really nice. But I can't avoid it. It's the best way. It's the best way to get me close to the microphone. Right now. Pac-Man is a maid, like, yeah. I don't know which visual novel I'm going to check out. Even if you recommended me one before, somebody hit me with your visual novel recommendations again, so I have something to look at. Keep bearing in mind, I don't really want to play anything too weeaboo or anime-ish. Like I said, I do like some anime things, you know? But Emio, the Smiling Man. I would like to play that, but I haven't played the other Famicom Detective games. Did they do a physical version of that? That would be a nice one to have. Feeling like the Switch and the Switch 2 is going to be the last chance to have a nice physical collection of something. Muramasa. Full Metal Demon Muramasa. Is that the same thing? It seems like that's the same thing you're both recommending. Emio is great if you like Shu Takumi games. Okay, cool. Remember 11 is more immediately enjoyable than Ever 17 and less anime. Okay. There was one of his games came out, Uchikoshi, one of those Uchikoshi games came out on Steam, and then it was a bad port or something like that. I don't know, I didn't really look into it. But I heard it was bad. I'd like to get it on Steam and just have on the Steam Deck. That's the way I'm hoping to consume these visual novels. Must consume. Okay. Alright, well that's 2 votes for the one. Alright, yeah. Okay, Muramasa is definitely leading now. Based on what you said, Alegnus. Sounds good to me. I bet when I look up this game, when I go off stream and I look up this game, I better not fucking curse your names. I'm telling you. Yeah, there's a Steam sale on, that's why now is a good time to ask. Can pick up a few. I was thinking of picking up one of the... I can't remember what it's called. I don't know. It's from the Steins Gate people. It's their newest one, I think. I don't know if it's any good. If anyone wants to opine on that, you're welcome. Oh, Steam rejected it. Okay. My circadian rhythm is completely fucked. Yeah, you're right. It's fucked. Raging Loop. I have not heard of Raging Loop. Unless it came up earlier. Okay. Yeah, I will try to invest in the Neon White story. I mean, I did kind of enjoy it in a way, in the sense that I liked what they did with the Angel guy. I think he looked different for everybody, maybe. And I thought White at least wasn't... He wasn't a shit character. Yeah, he was kind of fun in a way, you know? And maybe they should have leaned into it a little bit more with it. It's kind of... You're in a tough place. I feel like Suda games were an influence for them making that, because I feel like you can see it in the UI. I'm having a hard time picturing it, but doesn't the UI have some weird text on it? It's very Suda, that thing. I feel like that was kind of an influence for them. But then you can't really lean into the whole White being too much of a dork thing, because then you're just doing Travis touchdown again, so it is a little bit rough in that way. They're stuck into Neon White 2 story, yeah. Yeah, well, if nothing else, it was a fun setting and it's a great game. So, if the story didn't click with me, I don't really give a shit. That's fine. It didn't even really get in the way or anything either. And actually, there was some. At least the story came up sometimes. There was levels that kind of you would have a little boss fight or something. So. Yeah, I'll probably check out Romeo as a Dead Man at some point, but I don't know. I feel like Suda still has not topped Killer 7 for me personally. So it's hard to remain invested in him, even though it'd probably be worth playing Romeo as a Dead Man just for the inspiring. I'm sure there's plenty of inspiring, weird visual things going on in that game where you see them and you're just like, why is nobody else doing this? So he is somebody that can help get you fired up about games in a way. But I can't say that I'm itching to go play it, you know? I have to be honest. I have to be honest. Grasshopper have pegged themselves into making action games when they aren't the best at it and are known for their writing and aesthetics over gameplay. Yeah, I think I agree. But at the same time, you want to do what you want to do. I just think that probably the action of their games should be a bit better by this point. But there's, you know, with No More Heroes, the question is, you know, was it even supposed to be fun in the first place? Because is it supposed to be evoking the idea that if you're an assassin, then going out and killing a load of people in this weird world or whatever, is going out and killing a bunch of people just as engaging, or to be more precise, unengaging as mowing the lawn, you know? Cutting the grass. It's just another job. I felt like that's kind of what the game was gesturing towards. But I'm not sure if that's a solid interpretation of it or not. It's been a while since I've done a full playthrough. I went back and captured footage of it for a couple of times, but yeah, there's no doubt they do a lot of cool visual stuff. Even, you know, all the way back in the Killer 7, or even the Silver Case has a bunch of stuff. I'm not sure when that came out. Probably predates Killer 7. And it's got a bunch of cool visual stuff in it. I'm struggling to think of it, but I remember playing the Silver Case and I was thinking, it's funny, in game graphics there's things that seem like they should be simple and they're actually complicated, and vice versa. They were doing something with the text in that game that made me think that was probably a much bigger hassle than it looks like, but I can't remember what it was. They do all sorts of real cool visual effects that just make you wish other developers were branching out a little bit more. In a way, they're kind of like, they were doing the Atlas menu thing before Atlas were doing it, you know? The menus of Killer 7 are just, it's not really just menus though, it's the whole UI, it's everything about it in that way. Even like the loading screens are just weird in a kind of enjoyable way, you know? That weird kind of static effect that they have. And yeah, So yeah, you would think that they would do something that would sort of play more to their strengths. Sorry, I'm pretty tired. I'm not even talking into the microphone a lot of the time. Yeah. I don't know. I'll wrap it up with this thought. It's like every developer is on some kind of sliding scale between the different things that they do well. And you can see that developers branch out and try to do different things well. So it's more just like, maybe it's a little unfair to say that they shouldn't be trying to make action games or something. It's just that they're approaching it from an angle which is different from most developers, you know. A lot of some developers are really good at action games and then they struggle with the visuals of it or something, you know. And a developer that's similar to Suda in this way, actually, but I feel they strike a better balance, is Vanillaware, you know. They're known for their art, but they've been trying to make more and more compelling games as time goes by, and I think they've been getting better at that aspect of it, you know. So Vanillaware has certainly improved. I don't think there's any real doubt about that. In the gameplay department, I mean, their art was always good, but the gameplay of their games has... They were always tried to make interesting games, to their credit. You know, Odin Sphere is this weird kind of thing where you plant stuff in the ground and all. But they've been getting better at the action part of their games as well. And I just kind of wish Suda games have been... Grasshopper games in general have been getting a little bit better. In that regard. Yeah, I'm not really... I should probably just wrap it up. Thank you, Deltaro. Oh, Delatro. It's amazing. It's very easy to read people's names wrong. Delatro. Thank you. Yeah, I am wrapping up. But, you know, the VOD will be available. You can go back on it already. So. There's always somebody that comes in right at the end, you know? Like this, the soprano of the stream, you know, gets in right at the end. Okay, so you were the stream soprano this time, but next time maybe you'll get in at the start. All right, sorry everybody, but I'm way too tired. I'm gonna go, and I appreciate the super chat again, Deltro. Thank you. I hope you have a good night or a good day or whatever you are, and thanks for all the chats. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.